TCK. Hello adventurers, thanks for stopping by. In these videos I'll be addressing some basic concepts for Final Fantasy XIV, focused primarily on introducing newer players to the game. If you have questions or requests for new video content, feel free to drop me a line, and if you enjoy the video, consider a commentation, or in this case hit that like and or notification button. My name is Kai, and this is Welcome to Eorzea. Alright heroes, this is Eorzea, the western continent on the planet Hydaelyn. After you've been told to hear, feel, and think, you'll be dropped into your starting city-state based on the class you selected during character creation. As soon as you have control of your character, depending on your MMORPG background, the HUD can be a little much. But never fear, as is a staple of most MMOs, by the time you're cruising through endgame content, the UI will most likely be customized to fit your needs. As you may have gathered, today's topic is how to demystify the Final Fantasy XIV layout. The good news is that at this point in Final Fantasy XIV, you have already overcome its most challenging adversary, the installer. All jokes aside though, since I come from an English-speaking country, we'll arbitrarily tackle these HUD elements from left to right and top to bottom. Beginning in the upper leftmost corner, we have the main quest tracker. If you lose your way during the winding main scenario quest, or MSQ for short, you can select this bar to point you towards your next objective. Directly underneath this bar, indicated by an exclamation symbol, is the title of the next class or job quest for your current class or job. We'll get into this more later, but just know that it functions like the main scenario bar above it, except that it's for your specific class. Zooming over to the right a little bit, I'll call your attention to the blank space at the top of the screen. This is where the HP bar and name will appear when you select a target. You'll also notice buffs affecting you and your target in this area. I'd always recommend checking what buffs do if you don't recognize the icon. You'd be surprised how often reading the buff or debuff can save you from wipe later on. In the upper rightmost corner, we have some system information. First is the all-important compass and minimap combination that no RPG would be complete without. You can zoom this in and out with the plus and minus signs, and the gear icon allows you to toggle if the minimap rotates with your camera, or your directional arrow rotates within the map. Above this, we see that Minikai has some unread messages, and we can hover over the Wi-Fi symbol to check our internet connection. There's a time display, which, fun fact, you can click to display local time, LT, Eorzea time, ET, or server time, ST. Lastly, we have an XY tracker to show you where you are on the map. This can be helpful if you know the coordinates of something but aren't sure how to otherwise find it. This is useful when you Google an NPC or item location. You won't often need this to communicate your location to other players, and we'll touch on that in a future video. Much later, you may eventually need to make note of your Z position as you begin to travel in 3 dimensions. Moving onward to the middle left, we have an offer to load the browser-based play guide. This is up to you, although eventually you will most likely want to turn this off at login, so you no longer have to look at it every time. Similarly, after progressing somewhat into the opening of the game, subsequent logins will begin prompting you with a handy recommendations panel. This will give you an idea of what you can do based on your class, level, and current location. I also toggle this off at login personally, but the choice again is yours. You can always open either of these 2 HUD elements manually anytime you need. Located in the middle right, we have the duty list. Yup, I said duty. That's okay, just take a minute. Anyway, the duty list, hey, is your quest log. The word duty is used somewhat ambiguously in this game, but typically refers to instanced content such as dungeons or raids. Its use to describe a HUD element could be considered the exception. You can select the quest name here to open the journal, which will describe the quest, or select the objective to open the map and point to where you need to go. The symbols next to the quest will give you a good idea of what to expect. The shape of the icon denotes the type of quest, and the symbol inside the icon gives you an idea of what to expect. Pictured here is an overview of these icons. It's fairly intuitive once you get used to it. So in this example, Minikai has 1 quest ready to turn in, which we can tell from the green checkmark. And from the shape of the icon, we know that it is a main scenario, or MSQ. Now it's time for the bottom of the screen. Located in the bottom left, we have the chat log, which is actually pretty self-explanatory. You'll need to decide for yourself how you'd like to filter the contents. The default tab will display basically everything except combat information. Combat information, including damage, is displayed in the Battle tab, and the Event tab has a transcript of quest dialogue and similar text. The plus sign lets you add another tab, and the gear icon lets you change some settings. Play around some. Now the action pane. This is a great time to mention that I play the game using a controller, so what you see here will actually depend on your gaming preferences. For keyboard and mouse players, you will see the action bars pictured here by default. Action bars are available 1 through equals, and additional bars with the same buttons as combinations, for example control with 1 through equals. You can move, add, and reshape action bars to your heart's content later on. Now if you play with a controller, things will look like this instead. The concept here is pretty straightforward. If you hold in R2, right trigger, etc., depending on your controller, the right side of the hotbars will be selected. While the hotbar is selected, you have an input for the 4 action buttons and the D-pad. The same is true with L2 or left trigger on the opposite side, effectively giving you a 16-button action bar. If you feel so inclined, you have the option of setting shortcuts to a third combination when you hold both shoulder or trigger buttons. This can be altered so that you get one set of commands when you hold the left and then right shoulder or trigger buttons, and a second set of commands when you do the opposite. This basically gives you a 32-button hotbar. By default, if you need another action bar, pressing R1 or right bumper will cycle to the next action bar with something located in it. By default, this is bar 8, which is your universal bar. This contains actions such as sprint and return, and anything slotted here will be shared across all classes and jobs. This is usually where folks slot their mounts. To start, since there will be very few actions available, pressing the toggle hotbar button will skip to bar 8. Pressing it again will toggle back. In 50 or so levels, when your action bars start to fill up, you'll be bar swapping like an old pro. Or you'll have 4,000 macros. Or you'll have 12 custom shaped bars in places that only make sense for you. Go nuts. Meanwhile, just below this we have the HP and MP bars, which, you guessed it, stand for hit points and magic points. Or health and mana, if that's your flavor. Hit points, as always, are your ability to not die, while magic points are required for certain actions. It's worth mentioning that being revived will return you to the battle with a small percentage of your HP and MP, along with an ouchie debuff. You'll be limping back into the fight, ready to keel over at the slightest touch, but you may just turn the tide. Once the healers top you off, of course. Just underneath this is your XP bar. Nothing much to say here, except that leveling up will restore your HP and MP to full, and early game there's a chance this might just save your bacon a few times. Lastly, in the bottom rightmost corner, we have the Character, Inventory, System, and Guild section. The strange boxes are, from left to right, your worn equipment and inventory panels 1 through 4. Keyboard players will see menu icons, which are absent on the controller HUD. Controller players can access this same menu at any time by pressing the Start button or the equivalent for your controller. From left to right, as pictured, these buttons are Character, which has options for your stance, equipment, inventory, minions, mounts, achievements, etc. Duty, where you toggle recommendations, look at your journal, and queue up for instances. Logs, which include your sightseeing, crafting, gathering, and hunting logs. Travel, which includes the map, teleport, and return options. More on this later. Party, which includes options like a countdown, ready check, or waypoint markers. Social includes the friends list, blacklist, custom chat channels, etc. And System contains all the important administrative functions like settings, log out, HUD customization, and more. Under these menus is your main currency, Gil, which you will spend on most things in the vanilla game. Okay, so deep breaths. That was a lot of information, so let's briefly recap. Top left, main scenario tracker, and if you are in a party, the party list. Center top, target bar and buffs. Top right, server and map settings. Center right, quest log. Bottom left, chat. Bottom center, HP, MP, XP, and action bars. Bottom right, menu and inventory icons. This concludes the overview for the various HUD elements. Join me next time where we'll do a practical review, and I'll give you a brief tour of my own customizations to start you on your way. Thanks for joining me, and until next time, may you ever walk in the light of the crystal. This is Kai, signing off. Hello, Internet. Congratulations on reaching the end card. This is the part of the video where I pitch you my passion project over here on the Leviathan server. Right now, the free company, the Chocobo Knights, are recruiting. So why the pitch? Here's the thing. We're not interested in being the 478,000th no-drama, player-friendly free company. Our mission statement is to foster a force of positivity within the Final Fantasy XIV community. We plan to do this by paying it forward, uplifting fellow players, and countering toxicity with kindness. We're building a space where Final Fantasy fans old and new can congregate to share their ideas and their passions, and it is my goal, as well as my hope, to forge the Chocobo Knights into a name synonymous with good, with community building events, fundraisers, and more videos like this one. At the time of this video, we have a lovely estate in the Lavender Beds, and the company hall currently features the one and only Teo Tavern, where you'll feel light as a choco feather. If you are possessed of an unholy love of chocobos and would like to be part of this growing community, I invite you to drop by. A link to our Discord server, our community page, and our forum are available in the description below. Thank you.